Hey everyone, it's Daniel Burnett here from Imperfect Designs, and you're watching another Spaced Out tutorial. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this kind of knocked out brick wall effect with some graffiti text on it. And there are tutorials out there like this, but for all the ones that I've seen, they make you use a stock image of a brick wall as the texture. And I thought to myself, do you really need to use someone else's stock images when a brick wall is just kind of really simple? So the answer is no, and this tutorial is going to show you how to do this all from scratch in Photoshop, not using any other images except, obviously, the background. So the first thing we need to do is create a new document. I'm going to make it 1280 by 720, which is my usual, but you can pick any size you want. Background content should be transparent, and click OK. So the first thing we're going to do to keep organized is rename our first layer Wall, because this will be the wall texture. So grab your bucket tool, make sure you have black, and just fill the background with black. Then we're going to go to Filter, Texture, Patchwork. And when you do that, if you bring your square size up to 10, which is the maximum, and the relief to about 18, you can play with that to whatever you like. I like 18. And you see we're already getting a kind of brick effect, except they're a little bit square and not the right color, but don't worry about that. We can fix that later. So click OK. First thing we're going to do is fix the color. And the way you do that is very simple. Just press Control or Command U to bring up the hue and saturation, and hit Colorize. And the default is already red, so that's good. And just bring up the saturation. Don't bring it up too high, because then it looks kind of like a cartoon, and too low and it looks washed out. So pick a color about, I don't know, 74 is good. Click OK. Now we're going to fix the fact that it's a little dark. You might like it to be dark and you can leave it, but I like my bricks a little brighter. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and just drag the white slider down to bring up some of the highlights. And that's good. So now we're going to fix the shape, because they're all kind of square, but bricks are more rectangular. So this is a very simple thing to do. Just Edit, Transform, Scale. Make sure your width and height are not linked, and bring your width up to about 200%. This might be good. I think I'm actually going to bring the height up to about 120, just to make it look a little fatter, and that's good for me. And hit Enter, and there we go. We have our brick wall. Now we need to make the knocked out parts of it. You could go in there and grab the eraser, make it big, and then just start knocking out parts, but as you can see, that doesn't look very good. It looks like somebody erased it, and we want it to look like it was knocked out. So how we're going to do this is by using layer masks. So click to create a layer mask, and with the mask selected, and black and white as your colors, it doesn't matter if it's white and black or black and white, go to Filter, Render, Clouds. And at first it's going to be just kind of a mess and all transparent. But we're about to bring up the levels on our layer mask here, and that's going to bring our wall back in. So Image, Adjustments, Levels, and start bringing the white slider down. And you'll see as your mask turns whiter, your wall comes back in. You can do that and then bring the black up to get rid of the fuzziness in the knockouts. In the end, you probably want your black and white sliders to be in the same spot, but which spot that is all depends on the way your cloud's rendered and what you want. So that seems a bit much. I think I'm going to do about, that's good for me. And hit OK. So now you've got the basic knocked out wall, but it's kind of messy, and there are things, for example, here that don't make sense, like floating pieces of wall. So we're going to have to manually fix those. So with our layer mask selected, we're going to grab our brush tool and start painting out and in different areas. I think I'm going to paint this area in, so I have white as my color, and I start just painting, and it comes back in. Like that. I'm going to take these out by switching to black. Probably want to make that a little bit smaller brush. And cut those out. Take this out. And I'm going to fast forward this part because there's a lot to do. Paint this in. Paint these little holes in. This. Put that in. This little area there. This little area there. Take that in. Take that out. Put this in. Put this in. Thicker. So natural. Get that out. Get that out. Put this in. Put this in. This one a bit more, so it's free. Okay, so now that we've got everything painted in, I painted in some of those smaller cracks because they don't really add much to it, and I've painted out some of the little freestanding pieces that kind of float in midair. And now we're going to start adding the text. So create a new layer, and you don't have to rename it because this is just going to be a temporary layer. And switch to our text tool. And I'm going to use white. And I'm going to use a font called Angry Blue Controlled, which you can get for free at defont.com. I'll probably post a link down in the description. And it's just kind of a graffiti font. You can use any font you like. And start typing your text. I'm just going to write Urbana Syncope, which I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool, almost like a band name, I guess. And position it on your wall. Now it's going to look really cool if you have some parts of your text outside of the wall, because that part's going to get cut off and it's going to look like it was on the wall before it was knocked down, and it's going to look really cool. So you do want to be able to see most of it though, so you can read it. So I'm actually going to come in here and shrink my text size down a bit, just so that I can see most of it, like that. Okay, so once you have your text in place right where you want it, and make sure this is where you want it because it's going to be not so easy to change it later, hold Control and click on the layer thumbnail for your text, and it's going to select it. And now we're done with this layer. Told you it was temporary. So click the trash can and delete the layer, but keep the selection there. So now you're going to create a new layer, and we'll call this one, we'll call this layer text. And this is where we're going to start painting. Now the reason we're painting here instead of just using text is when you spray paint, you want soft edges between colors, which you could do with a gradient, but a gradient is going to be very uniform and have like straight lines between the colors. We want it to be more like it was painted on and be irregular and soft, so for that we're just going to actually paint it on. So we're going to change our colors here to bright colors like spray paint colors and just start painting. I'm going to paint red and green and blue and yellow and I think it just looks better if you have two words to have the bottom word all one color. You can make it multicolored if you want, whatever you want. I'm just gonna fill the bottom in all in purple, purplish pink, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now that your stuff is painted in, you can press Ctrl D to deselect, and we're going to do a few things to make this look like it's painted on the wall. The first thing is we're going to make sure it doesn't show up in any of the holes, and we do that by holding Alt or Option on a Mac and clicking between the text and wall layers. And that's just going to clip it so that it shows up only on the wall. The next thing we want to do is make sure that at least some of the brick texture comes through so that it doesn't just look flat. And to do that, with our text layer selected, we're going to change the mode. Sorry, I've forgotten what. Oh, color dodge, right. Sorry about that. We're going to change the mode to color dodge. And the colors are going to change, but you're going to start seeing some of that that texture show through. And the last thing is that sometimes because of the color dodge mode, it could be a little dark and a little difficult to read. So if you double click to get your layer styles and just add a small stroke, I say about 2 pixels, small black stroke just to help distinguish it from the background texture. And that's good. And now we're going to have to add the background in, so that's just simple. Let's just grab a picture. I found this on Google, so just drag this up into your document here. And then, if it automatically makes it a layer that's clipped, just hold Alt and click there to unclip it. And just resize it to fit the document. So do that and that. Hit enter and bring this below your wall. And the last thing is that it still looks a little flat, so just to give a little more illusion of depth, double click your wall layer and that'll give you its layer styles, and just add a drop shadow. The default settings are fine. If you want, you can play around with it, make it farther, that looks bad, make it closer, you can barely see it. So yeah, the default 5 pixels, everything is fine. And there you have it. You've got your text that looks like it's graffitied on the wall, you've got the wall knocked out, you've got the wall texture itself, and the background, and everything done. So, I hope this helped you, and I will see you guys next time on Spaced Out Tutorials here on Imperfect Designs.